With Vince McMahon retired and Triple H now the head of WWE Creative, there's an old saying I used to have for his NXT TakeOver shows, and that was, some are great, some are good, but never bad. And after tonight's SummerSlam, well, this certainly ends up in the great category, and I hope to adapt that phrase to this show. Hey everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to my WWE SummerSlam 2022 review. The first match was for the WWE Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. As expected, Bianca and Becky teared the house down again, just like they did at WrestleMania. That's the thing about these rematches. Yes, you know the women are going to go out there and put on tremendous show, but it's time to mix things up a little bit. But with the match, like I said, it was excellent. Bianca ends up getting the win with a Spanish fly to Becky Lynch, and then hits the KOD, a massive looking KOD by the way, and gets the clean win over Becky, sealing the storyline off once and for all. And I thought the story itself could have ended well at WrestleMania, but they wanted to drag it out all the way to SummerSlam. The big highlight, though, came after the match. Bayley finally returns, and when she comes out, she's not alone. Out comes, to my shock, Dakota Kai, and I was like, oh, you know, I had the same face that Bianca Belair had. Dakota Kai comes back to the WWE, and then out comes Iyo Sky, and a lot of reports were saying that Iyo was going back to Japan. As soon as Vince McMahon's out the door and Triple H is now in as head of creative, now they're quick to sign those contracts, and we know why, as they call him Papa H basically down there in NXT. Yeah, it's easy to see why. And they both come back along with Bayley, and they get in the ring, and they're about to go ahead and jump Bianca. And then Becky Lynch, who prior, by the way, had shook hands with Bianca, she gets in the ring, and she is now standing side by side Bianca, officially making this the babyface turn for Becky Lynch. And Bayley and Dakota Kai and Iyo, they all retreat, and I didn't know at this point before Becky got in the ring if this was going to be like the big return of, say, Sasha and Bianca. I guess Triple H still got quite a bit of a negotiating to do there if he's going to bring those two back. Overall, I like the direction. You can tell Triple H wanted to freshen things up with this women's division, because there's quite a lot of things on this product, honestly, that needs freshening up. And I am so glad that they finally decided to go ahead and make Becky a babyface, because the heel turn, honestly, for me as a fan, I just really wasn't finding it as entertaining as babyface Becky. Even if Becky was going to remain a heel, had she been a heel that was more serious, I think it kind of would have worked. I really enjoy Becky's serious promos versus her over-the-top promos, but I'm looking forward to seeing the new direction of where this is going to go. We also got Alexa Bliss, who's basically claimed her name for the title hunt picture again, so a lot to look forward to. And man, you guys just know Vince McMahon would have not booked Iyo Sky right. Just look at the way some of these foreign talents have been booked over the years under Vince McMahon getting the final say so. Triple H, you could tell he knows, obviously, English is not her first language, so I'll put Iyo with Dakota Kai and Bayley, who can talk very well on the mic. That's how you show one's strengths and hide their weaknesses, as Paul Heyman likes to say, and I'm believing we're going to see more of that now on the main rosters. Also, with the plan being heavily rumored to be Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, this is what I was saying so many times along with many other fans, a babyface Becky Lynch that is defiant versus a heel Ronda Rousey. That right there is where I believe the best character story interest is between these two ladies. This right here is the right direction to go, and now I am a lot more hyped to see that match than what it would have been had they stayed the path of heel cowardly Becky. So first part of SummerSlam, great stuff. Next up, we had Logan Paul versus The Miz with Maryse and Ciampa. Now, as I've stated many times, I do not follow Logan Paul, but I think it's tremendous what he's been able to do content creating wise to get him and his brother to this success. So that is fantastic. And when it comes to what he showed in the ring, I gotta give it to him. He athletically told the story just what he needed to do. The Miz is always awesome, and this was a really fun match. Very well one-on-one one-on-one. Some of the highlights included Logan Paul doing a phenomenal elbow when AJ Styles comes out because of all the interference from Ciampa and Maurice, and he even did a frog splash with great execution from the top of the ring ropes all the way to the announce table on The Miz, as perfectly executed as one could be, and that was tremendous. Of course, Logan Paul picks up the win against The Miz, as I figured they would because it's such a big signing for them, and I think the real testament here to Logan Paul's performance was it was so good that the fans, he came in getting booed by the fans, but did such a tremendous job on the performance that the fans cheered him. He truly earned that babyface reaction. Is it going to be sustainable long-term character-wise? I don't think so, but at least in this match, he earned the fans' respect. Now, I'll be very impressed if this ends up causing the fans during his promos and his character work developing here in WWE, if they get behind him as a babyface, truly. But I think the best way to really book Logan Paul is fans just naturally hate the guy. Go heel with it. But at least on this night, this performance, this match, good stuff. Hats off to everyone involved. Next up, for the WWE United States Championship, the almighty Bobby Lashley versus Theory. Another rematch that I really didn't think needed to happen. I really enjoyed their Money in the Bank match, and I thought they could have just left it at that. However, that's what Vince McMahon booked, and Triple H has got to go ahead and finish off where storylines left off to be consistent. That being said, this was nowhere near, I thought, as good as their Money in the Bank match, but a solid match that had the right outcome. Towards the end of the match, Theory jumps into the ring and gets caught mid-air by Bobby Lashley, who looks like he's going to go for a gorilla press slam, but instead reverses it into the Hurt Lock and immediately makes Theory tap out both hands, all like that. And there you go. Bobby Lashley remains the United States champion, and even under Triple H's booking, Theory is not looking very strong at all as a champion who you think is getting prepped to become a world champion. As Roman Reigns said in his promo on Monday Night Raw, Daddy's not here anymore, but I really hope Triple H is going to build this guy up the right way instead of having him end up losing all the time. So we'll see where they go from here with Theory. Next up, the Judgment Day, consisting of Finn Balor and Damian Priest with Rhea Ripley versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Also, congratulations on Rey Mysterio for 20 years in WWE. So this match was more or less the same as what you saw in their Monday Night Raw match, however with a little different twist in the end. Once Rhea kept interfering so much, the lights went out, a new rock version of the Brood theme plays, and out comes Edge, basically with the old style Brood entrance, and he comes out, does a big boot to Damian Priest, gets in the ring, spears Finn Balor, then the Mysterios do stereo 619s, followed up by Rey from the outside of the ring, jumping onto the top rope and delivering to Finn Balor some sort of splash slash headbutt. 1, 2, 3, the Judgment Day win, and the Mysterios stand tall with Edge. This kind of just reeks a lot of what they did with Retribution 2 years ago, because with Retribution, it had the potential, but the booking just wasn't there. You gotta book these factions strong, and that's backed up just looking at how successful, say, like the Alliance was, or the NWO and WCW, or look at the Shield more recently in WWE of the past 10 years. You gotta give these factions credible wins, or else it's just hard to take them seriously, and that's what they done. When they stripped Edge away, Vince McMahon wasn't really doing much with the group, honestly, to make them look credible, and even under Triple H's watch, the same thing here. I still stand that I think Rhea Ripley, should be the one, maybe hopefully by Survivor Series, to take the title off of Bianca Belair, so that you can continue to build up the new generation of women. But man, I think they're gonna, if they're gonna continue to book Retribution, right? If they're going to, you might as well say it at this point, but if you're going to continue to book the Judgment Day like this, then you might as well just go ahead and have Rhea Ripley go ahead and get far away from this group and just continue her heel run as just someone who dominates the women's division. It's cool to see Edge back, but I was always joking with a friend of mine, like, why are we cheering Edge? It was Edge in the storyline. He was the one that turned turned on AJ Styles. He was the one that formed this faction, created these monsters, and then he ended up getting taken out by his own creation. Edge in the storyline has no one to blame but himself, but when you're a Hall of Famer, the fans are gonna cheer anyway. I've always been that way with Edge. He's done so many despicable things as a heel that when they do his babyface turn, it's hard for me to get sympathy for him. But honestly, beyond the character, I've always enjoyed Adam Copeland's work as Edge, so I am looking forward to still seeing where they go from here. But yeah, it ain't looking good for the Judgment Day. They very well may have met their Judgment Day. Next match, Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. Now, even with Vince McMahon still fully in charge at the time with WWE Creative, this was one of the matches I was actually looking forward to here on this card, because Pat McAfee always delivers on the microphone, always delivers in the ring. This guy, like I said, going back to his first early days in NXT, the guy just gets it when it comes to professional wrestling and sports entertainment. And Baron Corbin can absolutely go in the ring, and he's tremendously naturally good as a heel. He's come a long way since he was in NXT. It's just the problem is that they tend to drag Corbin's feuds out way too long than what they need to be. And I knew with Pac only probably working a part-time deal, that means this is going to be one and done, and I can just get invested into the match of the story without fearing that it's going to go way longer than what it needs to be. So Corbin comes out during the entrance, and his music is shut off and replaced by a choir from Pat McAfee, where they're basically singing "Bum Has Corbin." I was cracking up, man. It was good stuff. And then the choir starts singing and humming to the theme of Pat McAfee's entrance, and the crowd is just getting hyped. Pat's getting everyone hyped up for the match, and this was just good stuff. Match was really good. Both guys delivered. I'll tell you something about Baron Corbin as a heel. There's a part in this match where he pushes Michael Cole, and the crowd freaking boos. When do you, especially if you were like me, where you've seen Michael Cole's entire career in WWE, since when does anyone attack Michael Cole and get booed for it? I've seen Steve Austin whoop this man with a belt. The Rock hit him with a rock bottom. Brock Lesnar hit him with an F5. Yet here, Corbin does one little shove and the fans boo. When you can attack Michael Cole and still get booed for it, that's when you know, so ladies and gentlemen, you have made it as a heel. That being said, Michael Cole was absolutely on fire this whole show. When he don't got Vince McMahon in his ear, man, he truly really shines. And I said that about the WrestleMania match that Pat had earlier this year with Theory. This match, though, eventually there's a part where Corbin is outside the ring and Pat McAfee is on top of the ring ropes, and I guess they're shaking because they don't have it tightened up enough, but he's able to get his footing, and then he delivers what Michael Cole calls the Swan Tone Bambini. Correct me if I am wrong on that in the comments, but I think that's what Michael Cole said it's called. So in the closing moments of this match, when they're in the ring, Pat McAfee ends up nearly getting caught in the End of Days, which is a move that only Drew McIntyre, as of right now on the main roster, has kicked out of. After the reversal, Pat McAfee shoves Corbin, and it accidentally ends up causing the referee to get knocked down for a little bit. It's at this moment that Pat McAfee kicks Corbin right in the balls, and obviously this is payback for what he did the previous night on SmackDown. From here, the referee gets back up, and Pat McAfee ends up finishing Corbin off, jumping from the top rope, going into the code red. 1, 2, 3. Pat McAfee wins. And like I said, this was an entertaining match, really good, and even helped more by the fact that I'm pretty sure with Triple H in charge now, it's gonna be one and done. Hopefully Corbin's repackaged after this. They gotta do something, I think, different with the Corbin character. This was definitely one of many highlights of this show. Next up, for the unified WWE Tag Team Championships, Jimmy and Jay, the Usos versus Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits, with Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee. As with many rematches on this show, you know when the participants involved are in the ring, it's going to be a great show. So this was more or less the same multiple matches you've seen from these teams before. I really enjoyed their tag match at Money in the Bank. Good stuff, and I thought it was better than this one here here at SummerSlam, but once again, still fairly serviceable. Really nice, good, solid tag team match. But you already know, like I say, the Street Profits are awesome. You see the cool, amazing thing of beauty, that being the frog splash from Montez Ford. Angelo Dawkins, of course, flipping from inside the ring over the ropes to the outside of the ring. And the Usos always just doing a very great job at just tag team moves, period. At the end of the match, the Usos hit the 1D on Angelo Dawkins. 1, 2, 3. Match is over. The Usos still are the tag team champions, as I figured they would, as I don't expect them to drop the titles anytime soon until at least Roman drops his championship. So that's where we are. I'm not sure where they go from here with the tag team. As I mentioned earlier with the women, this tag team division needs a lot of build up too. We need to get that back in WWE, and hopefully Triple H is going to be working on that. So we'll see where they go from here. There's been a lot of talk about the Street Profits probably breaking up sooner or later. And I hope that while you know Montez Ford is just got all the tools to be that main event player and go on to be a star, I hope Triple H doesn't forget about Angelo Dawkins, because he's got charisma on the mic too. He's extremely athletic and exciting to watch in the ring as well. So hopefully both go on to major success here in the WWE, if that is the direction that they are going to eventually go. After that, Matt Riddle, who is of course kayfabe injured, comes out and challenges Seth Rollins to a fight, as this match was canceled from the show, and Seth ends up basically coming out, fighting Riddle, and does the curb stomp, and that's it. I kind of thought it was a waste of time on the show, honestly, because it really didn't add nothing. It just basically got us back to right where we left off at Monday Night Raw, and reconfirming what we already knew going into the show, that this match was going to be rescheduled for another time, and that was it. I would have loved to seen something more creative come up out of this if they were going to utilize Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins on this show. Most likely it was just cut for time. Next up, for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship, Liv Morgan versus Rowdy Ronda Rousey. With Triple H the head of creative now, this match right here was the most intriguing to me out of everything, because I was wondering, under Vince McMahon as the final say-so, we knew that Ronda Rousey was probably winning back this championship. However, with Triple H in charge, I'm like, you know what? He's gonna know that the fans are really behind Liv Morgan after seeing her 8-year journey. So no doubt they're gonna probably have her go ahead and go over. So I was interested. I figured that no matter what happens going into this match, you have to make Liv Morgan look strong if you're going to take her serious and build her up credibility-wise for the women's division as a top player. So I figured, all right, they're going to either have Ronda win clean, but Liv Morgan will look very strong in defeat, or you're going to have Liv Morgan just straight up do the shock victory and have her beat Ronda, and thus leads to Ronda being a sore loser and ends up turning heel. That's not what happened. This was about as much of a Vince McMahon special on the booking that you could imagine. So in my opinion, I actually thought this was the weakest match on the show. Ronda and Liv worked a pretty good, solid match in terms of psychology, with Ronda constantly trying to go ahead and do the arm bar, or Liv Morgan being the one to try and defend, or sometimes have to escape the arm bar. Now, in the end, when the arm bar is on, Liv gets up on her feet and Ronda basically holds on with her shoulders to the mat. The referee counts 1, 2, 3, and the way they shot this on the camera angle, I'm like, oh, she wins, but they kind of made Ronda look like she did like a very amateurish mistake, but the type that would make me still go like, Bret Hart be like, that's my girl. If you guys remember the finish to the Steve Austin Bret Hart match at Survivor Series 1996, but then they show a different camera angle, and the camera angle reveals why Ronda did not let go of the submission, because actually at the count of 2, Liv Morgan is seen on camera tapping out. So why would Ronda let go? She thinks the referee is ringing the bell because she's about to be rewarded the championship. So after this, Ronda ends up attacking Liv and the referees, and Liv even walks away smiling like, oh, I can't believe it, I did it, I beat Ronda. This is what I call a mess. This was a mess booking, and just reeked of, like I said, a very Vince McMahon-esque type of booking. Like, we don't want Ronda to look weak, but we don't want to take the title off of Liv Morgan. At this point, you either book Liv Morgan like a strong champion or you don't. This was ridiculous booking, and I thought it was gonna go, and I thought it should have gone, and I'm pretty sure many fans would agree the way that I had laid it out right before I got into the recap of this match. So like I said, this does nothing. It really does nothing to make Liv Morgan look credible as a world champion, especially after the way she cashed in the month prior. It does nothing, honestly, I feel, to make Ronda as a true heel. You know, a sore loser Ronda would make sense for her going heel, and she was definitely acting heel throughout the match, taunting the crowd about Liv Morgan, but this is just not the way, and this is something that I would love to see Triple H definitely improve on, with him now getting the final say-sos in the match. You gotta go straight up, and that's something that he was very good at doing in NXT, was making sure that heels and baby faces looked very credible. Very rarely did you have booking outcomes like this on NXT, and I hope we get rid of this type of booking on WWE program. It might make sense sometimes, but here it certainly did no favors for anyone. And now, time for the main event. For the 7th time, the WWE Universal Undisputed Championship. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Now, the last time I reviewed a WWE show, just like many fans, I said this: knowing WWE, this feud will still continue over and over and over and over. So this is probably not the last match we're gonna see of this. And here we are. And unlike many of the rematches on this show where I at least knew from an in-ring perspective it was going to be good, I was not looking forward to this, because nothing since, honestly, their WrestleMania 31 match has really made me go like, oh, this is fantastic. So I really was at the point where I felt like, man, if I wasn't a content creator who reviews the 4 big WWE shows every year, I would just skip over this match and only watch it if anyone said it was good. The funny thing is, I, probably like many, was left very pleasantly surprised after so many years of them just doing these matches of just spamming German suplexes and spears. This match was easily the greatest Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match they have ever done, and the best since their WrestleMania 31 match. Roman Reigns comes out first, and I'm like, why are they not having the challenger come out first? But I see why, because next, Brock Lesnar comes out to this huge red tractor. I'm like, this is a good entrance, and they were milking these entrances, and I'm like, okay, we're probably in for a short 4 to 3 minute match, because everything else, especially at their previous SummerSlam match, their WrestleMania match, their last Saudi Arabia match, everything just dictated that it was going to be that. But no, this was a pretty lengthy match. It was more or less 20 minutes, and it broke the status quo of what you would expect from these matches. They were fighting all over the ring, fighting all into the crowd. Brock Lesnar eventually gets the tables out, and him and Roman both slam each other through the tables, but then they take the pieces of the tables and slam those over, and that was pretty cool. You don't see that too many times. Once the table break, it just stays there. So them using pieces of the table was a really great way to incorporate those weapons in the match. So it was really all out chaos. You got the German suplexes, Suplex City, but they worked up to it, and that's what I always was saying about Brock Lesnar. That's why I'm a fan, and many others are a fan of his work, because Brock Lesnar is more than just German suplexes, and we've seen this out throughout the years in his matches, and that's exactly what you saw in this one. What's really good is this match kept me on the edge of my seat. Brock Lesnar eventually gets into that tractor and lifts Roman Reigns and throws him into the ring with it, and when that didn't work, he takes, and this is going to be one of the OMG all-time moments in WWE. I have watched a lot of WWE since 1994, so I mean it when I say I have never seen anything like this. Brock Lesnar gets in the tractor and lifts the ring like almost 15 feet into the air, and you see Roman goes like, whoa, falls back, back bump, and rolls out of the ring. Holy crap. When I tell you this whole arena looked like a mess with everything, like a tornado went through there, it really was carnage. Man, the crowd popped for it. It was one of the things that had me go like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and not very few things in wrestling make me do that. This was as much of a holy crap moment as you could ever imagine. imagine. An all-time moment that I think WWE will play for years to come. If you were in attendance, I know you had to get your money's worth, though. People in the front row, they had this big ring looking up behind them, so you know they were like, I can't see the show, I gotta watch the Titantron now, right? This is the part, though, one of my biggest critiques about this match is Roman was doing fairly well by himself, and I wish they would have just stayed with it. The Usos come out and interfere, and Brock makes short work of them. Of course, Theory comes out, and he's actually made short work of, because I was wondering, is this going to turn into a triple threat last man standing match where he has to wait for both of them to stay down for 10 seconds? It's just all out carnage. Towards the end, Roman just hits Brock with everything. The Usos coming in and doing a double super kick to Brock. He hits him with one world title. Then he picks up the other title, hits him with that, hits him with stairs, and Brock just keeps getting up. And Michael Cole was absolute fire on commentary, just selling the emotion, the impact, wanted Brock to stay down, telling the referee to count faster, man. And in the end, I think it's one last shot with the Universal title. I forgot to mention too, there's so many things in this match. Paul Heyman actually even took an F5 through the announce table from Brock Lesnar, so I did not expect that. And then after that, the Usos and Roman Reigns, they're just taking all the debris around the ring, from tables to the parts of the announce table to steel steps, and just cramming it and burying it on top of Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns ends up getting on top of the debris that's over Lesnar, and the referee ends up counting to 10, and finally Brock Lesnar is defeated, and it took Roman Reigns and everything he had with his bloodline to get the job done. Not a fan of that. Brock, I don't know why they just look at Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins and go like, those are the guys that can get it done with their own power. You have Brock Lesnar, and it's just this whole company. Even with Triple H in charge, they still can't book Roman Reigns to beat Brock Lesnar 100% clean. It's always been either Strowman interferes and distracts Brock with the briefcase. It's always the Usos have got to interfere, or the Usos don't interfere. But Roman Reigns, when the referee's not looking, has to do a cheap shot with the low blow. It can't be that Roman Reigns, with his own power, his own force, is what takes Brock down and keeps him down. That being said, the main event was absolutely amazing. It was, like I said, the greatest match you've seen between Roman and Brock. At least I know I felt that way, and I know many of you probably felt that way as well. It was an absolute carnage. The main event definitely overexceeded. This is what they should have done at WrestleMania, but here they absolutely delivered, and there's no reason to have another Brock or Roman match because these guys delivered. It was the best. This is how you end a feud once and for all. No need to do another one because they ain't gonna top this, and Roman Reigns has defeated Brock Lesnar once and for all. Wish it was clean, but it's done, hopefully once and for all, and now we look towards the future. So with Clash of the Castle coming up next for WWE, a big stadium show, 30 years since the last one in SummerSlam 1992, earlier in the show, Drew McIntyre did come out to say that it's time to take the World Championship off the part-timer, aka Roman Reigns. And as much as I have enjoyed this bloodline storyline between Roman and the Usos and Paul Heyman, if Roman Reigns is going to be around for just part-time, and personally I think the 2022 portion of this big run he's been on has been the less creative one, because when you look at it, you know, they haven't really added any females or other mid-carders to the group to help really grow their empire. I think it's time. Go ahead and let Drew McIntyre get his big win in the stadium show in his home country to win the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship and defeat Roman Reigns. Because at that point, at least I think Roman Reigns would have been a 2-year-long champion, something that has not been accomplished in almost 4 decades since the run of Hulk Hogan. So if that is the route that they go in, I definitely think it is a good one to do. Before I wrap up this review, I want to talk about Vince McMahon's retirement and Triple H being the new head of creative. Vince McMahon, the thing is, you gotta learn to take the good and the bad. And I basically incorporate what my stepfather has taught me growing up, which was get caught up in the message and not the messenger. When it comes to people who have dealt with him personally, we've heard a lot of not so good things. But when it comes to us as fans, and myself included, honestly, the man did provide a tremendous amount of entertainment. That's the reason why, even though he's not in charge of WWE anymore, we're still watching. I've been a long-time WWE fan since 1994. So many family and friends I've bonded with just because of our love for WWE and professional wrestling. So I'm always going to be thankful to Vince McMahon for that. But let's be honest, even as a fan, the creativeness in this company, it felt like Vince McMahon got very complacent and just was not trying as hard with what he did 20 or 30 years prior, right? Because, man, when WCW was kicking his butt, he was on fire creatively. But then it's like the last, particularly, especially 10 plus years, man, it just seemed like, you know what, we got these guaranteed money deals, no need to push the product as much. And that's where Triple H comes in. This is where I'm going to enjoy Triple H, because, you know, even though the company is making way more money than they've ever done and they're set financially because of the big media deals that they have, Triple H still is a fan at heart. Triple H still loves the business, and you know he's going to put that effort into the company regardless of how much money they're making. And that is what I'm looking forward to seeing Triple H implement a lot of that stuff he did on NXT onto the main roster. But now we see if Triple H can definitely go to a wider audience with his vision. If Triple H can get over to a wider audience, then man, WWE is looking sad. I expect, though, with Triple H's vision, WWE at least will be a lot much better. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to get to the heights of the Attitude Era ever again. Don't know if that's going to happen, but at least make it watchable, acceptable, to where you can get back some of those jaded fans and maybe some of the fans who used to be in part of WWE back then, and maybe they enjoyed. We'll see where it goes from here. But I think if this is a good sign of what's to come, this SummerSlam show right here, I very well might be, like many other fans, can say that when it comes to these WWE premium live events, some are great, some are good, but never bad. Hopefully Triple H can get us to that point with the WWE main roster shows. So hey, Vince McMahon's got a lot going on in his personal life, obviously, some things that are not so good, and hey, that's going to be for him to deal with, but I'm thankful for what he was able to do for the WWE for many of the decades. However, it's been long overdue for a creative change in the WWE, and I am very intrigued to see where Triple H is going to take it. It's very nice that the words hope can actually have some meaning here in the WWE now. Don't know if this change is going to be good or bad, but it's going to be a change nonetheless, and I'm willing to put faith in Triple H's creative vision that it's going to lead more towards the good. That said, enjoy the rest of the content here on the screen, and make sure to comment below what you thought of SummerSlam this year, and I will be back for a review of WWE Survivor Series 2022.